Hello, I'm Danielle Conley, and welcome to Wealth Think Tank Television with your host, Dr. Ralph Steele, providing the best financial literacy, investment, and generational wealth for your children, yourself, your family, and your business.
Welcome to Wealth Think Tank Television. I'm your host, Dr. Ralph Steele, and we got a great show for you today, and we're here at the Dallas, Fort Worth, Mansfield, Arlington area. You're on Wealth Think Tank Television, which is on KAZQ 32 Television Network, which is out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Today we have a great show again. We have a special guest today as well. And folks, our show today, we'll talk a little bit about the debt ceiling and inflation, and kind of give you some options in terms of how do you deal with that. And of course, again, we have a special guest that you'll see, we'll talk to later. That is Mr. Waylan Kelso. He'll be here. He's already here, and we'll talk about him and his professionalism and experience in the financial planning and investment business as well. But in the meantime, what I want to do right now is I want to just invite you, if you like this show, is that you would consider being a sponsor to our show. If you would go on www.me3cash.com, and you can be a sponsor to this show and sponsor the show and help people with financial literacy, people understand investments, and basically understand generational wealth. But now, at this moment, we have a 1-minute video for you, talks about wealth strategies and what have you. And here we go with the strategies dealing with wealth.
Are you frustrated with paying yearly income taxes on savings that are intended for long-term goals? Then it's time for you to get the information on the strategies that can provide tax advantages on your money. In our early working years, we made money to pay our monthly bills. Shortly thereafter, we began saving for our first home. But during our middle years, we began to realize the seriousness of putting aside money for longer-term objectives. That's why many people embrace financial strategies that not only have the potential of building value for your future financial goals, but may also provide beneficial tax advantages during their growth phase and during the distribution phase. It's important to save money because some long-term goals don't offer second chances. But it's also important to embrace strategies that are tax-advantaged, ones that have the ability to potentially reduce, defer, or even eliminate taxes. With so much to gain, ask for the facts. The facts may illustrate ways for you to achieve tax advantages on money that you're setting aside for longer-term objectives. That's a strategy that has the potential of delivering a big advantage to the quality of your financial life.
Welcome back to our show, and I hope you liked the video and talking about having strategies for wealth and investment and saving, and particularly folks, if you think about it, if you can get a good, solid, well-informed strategy for you in order that you can invest and save for yourself, for your family, and for that matter, creating generational wealth and financial freedom, that's what we offer you. And so with that being said, today we'll talk a little bit about the debt ceiling and inflation. Well, first of all, as many of you know, the debt ceiling is going up. And so what happens is, many people don't understand that the debt ceiling actually can impact any individual or American family. And so it can impact just the general dollar, it can impact mortgage, how much your mortgage can be, and it can impact, your credit card interest rate, your auto loans interest rate, but more importantly, just the amount of money that you will have available, cash on hand, to spend for a vacation or just having money, excess money, including an emergency fund, you might not have it, or you might have a lower amount because of the debt ceiling. So that's why we do this show, because we want you to have some information that can help you, excuse me, to develop strategies, or a strategy that you will be able to maneuver around financially around the debt ceiling. Because the debt ceiling does have impact on all of us as Americans. And that's why all of us, when we spend money, it's always better to spend what you have if it's all possible. It's also, second, it's better if you make $100,000, don't spend $125,000 or $150,000. Spend $75,000 and keep, save, or invest $25,000. Now you have something, and now you're living within your means, because there's nothing in the world is free. Well, just a little bit more about inflation. The inflation rate is right around 8-9%, and which is very high, too high. And not to be a bearer of bad news, but let's think about it in terms of how do you manage and move through and work through the process that you will not allow inflation or the debt ceiling to cause you to have some situations financially that are above your head, rather than you have a strategy or strategies or a plan, or you simply have a way to manage your cash flow, to manage your money, so that you can live, if not the American dream, you can live some of the dreams of America, because you want to be happy, and including taking that big vacation to Hawaii, Hilton Head, or wherever you want to go. And so, when you think about inflation, again, you need to have strategies. And, you know, if you have some financial strategies that can help you, which really come down to, I call them to be safe options. And to have options is very, very good. That brings me to this segment in our show. Ladies and gentlemen, television audience, on KAZQ in New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, California, Texas, and Oklahoma, and basically the United States, we have a very special guest today, a Navy buddy. He served in the United States Navy. He'll tell you more about him and all that, how good he was and how Superman he is and all this stuff. Y'all can laugh. Yeah, right. We got a great guy right here. You see him? There he is live. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give a big hand and welcome to our KAZQ Wealth Think Tank Television, Mr. Waylan Kelso. And what I want to just tell you before we go into some of this super expert he has is Mr. Kelso has over 12 years experience in the financial planning and advising and just the financial industry, and when people have strategies and what have you. And so I want to right now welcome to our show Mr. Waylan Kelso.
Thank you, Ralph. It's good to be here.
Man, I tell you, it's good to be here. And I mean, wow, that look like a queen dressed you up this morning. You looking good today. I'm so happy. Folks, you know, it's amazing when you got a professional man and an expert, and he looks good, he dressed up, he looks great. I'm just happy today. He had to make me look good too, though. But Mr. Kelso, tell our television audience, where are you from?
Dallas, Texas, born and raised.
Born and raised? Because I thought you was from Oklahoma.
No, family's from Oklahoma.
And family from Oklahoma?
Not me.
I mean, you're a Texas,
Oh, yeah.
Born and bred, raised cattle, cows,
First
chicken.
generation Texan.
First
Yep.
generation Texan. Well, that's a great thing. I'm an extract Texan from Alabama, Louisiana, and I'm proud, though, to be here and to be a Texan today. I just want, though, just thinking, is anybody inspires you in terms of where you are all of the success you had in your life, anyone or two or three people that stands out in your life that inspires you?
Yeah, first and foremost, my parents and one of my uncles, who was ex-Army, great inspiration, and a lot of people along the way. I wish I had time to name them all.
Yeah, it'd be a whole lot of them, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
because I got lots of them as well. So now, you served in the military. What branch and what did you do in the military? How long did you serve in the military? Because you're a veteran.
Yeah, I was U.S. Navy as a corpsman. I was attached to the 1st Marine Division out of Camp Pendleton and Fleet Marine Force, FMF. And after that, got out and went into financial services.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And you heard me. We're talking about right now in America, unfortunately, we're dealing with the debt ceiling. We're dealing with inflation. And I mean, I went to buy a thing of eggs the other day, and I almost dropped the carton of eggs when I looked at the price. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And everything is high. And so for our American brothers and sisters out here nationwide, I'd like to, first of all, is just kind of say, you worked in financial over 12 years. What was some of the successes you had, or things that you could reflect back on and say that is a good thing for American people to invest?
That's pretty easy. Some of the best, most rewarding things for my 12 years in financial services was helping the individual investor.
Wow.
Helping them send their children to college.
Wow.
Buy a second home if they wanted a vacation home or a boat, or I even had people come to me saying, hey, I want to buy a new car. Where should I take the money from? Which investment? But that was the most rewarding, was having a client's recent college graduate child stop by my office one day and say, hey, Mom and Dad said that me going to college would not have been possible without your help. So
wow.
That was worth more than any amount of money I ever made. So.
Wow. But in other words, it's not just about money, but it's about what the tool of money and the professionalism and the understanding of how it helps you.
Yeah, it helps improve people's lives. We're a free market economy, and in America, the American dream seems much more difficult to attain nowadays. But back in the day, when I was a financial advisor, that was my sole purpose, was to help people not only succeed currently in what they're trying to do, but help them to grow their wealth over time, and at some point, if so desired, to pass on that wealth to the next generation. And I had quite a few people who, when they retired, they said, well, we're not passing it on, we're going to spend it all. Okay, fine, do that. Others, of course, would like to pass it on and create generational wealth that they could pass on to their children, their grandchildren, so on and so forth, and improve their lives as well.
Yeah, and I mean, the part that you talked about, those who did pass it on, I find that fascinating, because now you're not just helping yourself, but you're helping other people in your family. And for me, generational wealth is 3 generations. That's second, and then
plus.
That's 3 plus, exactly. And so one of the things I often think about when I think about helping people to be able to deal with inflation, deal with the debt ceiling, and just simply, basically, as you said, help people to live the American dream. And what I want to just kind of, and you can share with our television audience, is what are some of the options that people have in terms financially, particularly when they want to invest, or they may have an investment, but they might want to upgrade, improve, and basically look at themselves. What are some of the options that people have that you might share with our television audience in order to help them to get where they need to go?
Such as investment vehicles?
That is correct.
There's tons. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, individual equities or individual stocks
Sure.
is what that is. Bonds, treasury bonds, as far as fixed income, treasury securities, corporate bonds.
Wow.
And municipal securities as well, which are also called tax-free bonds. And I've had people over the years look at me when I mention tax-free bonds and say, is that legal? Well, yeah, it's legal. It's federally tax-free. The federal government cannot touch a penny of the income created from investing in those securities.
Yeah.
And that was unbelievable to a lot of people. But
so let's go back for a moment with the treasury bonds and the treasury and then the federal tax-free bond.
okay.
How has it been from your experience? People, I mean, yes, I know, like, wow, that's not true. That's unbelievable. But how have you been able to help people say, you know what, I'm going to at least try this treasury bond or this federal, and how did they fare back after they did do it, and then now later on they saw the benefit from it? How did that work from your experience with people?
Yeah, Treasury securities are backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, and currently I think they're paying right around 5%
Wow, that's
rate
pretty
of
good.
return. It's not bad.
No, it's not.
And I remember when Dallas-Fort Worth International was selling bonds to fund the current expansion of
Sure.
the airport, I sold quite a few of those bonds, and at the time they were returning 5.25% federally tax-free.
Right.
And that's not a bad way to go if you're not having to pay taxes on that money. But even with tax-free bonds, there are certain people where they have to pay, or they're subject to the AMT,
Right.
the alternative minimum tax.
Right.
Those are your higher net worth people
Right.
who will be subject to that. They're going to have to pay a little bit of tax on them, but not everybody.
It's not a higher tax though.
No. Mm-mm.
That for me, that's important. I think for our television audience, this is
Right.
important too, because it's one thing that you're paying the maximum taxes versus, as you said earlier, the minimum taxes. In essence, you're saving some money that's staying in your pocket.
Yep.
That's the object of it. I think you would agree with me, folks. The object of anything is when you have money, is to save as much of it, keep as much of it in your pocket. Now, here's my thoughts on it: is cash is still king, because if you have cash and it's not taxed on it, you understand what I'm saying? If it's not taxed, and you can kind of correct me or agree with me or tell me to leave the money with you and I jump in the ocean, but but what about? But what do you? I mean, can you say a little bit more about the lower tax or non-tax in terms of the investment or anything to that nature?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how you're funding your investment portfolio. Is it going to be pre-tax dollars or after-tax dollars?
Right.
Pre-tax is going to be like a 401k. After-tax is money that you've already paid taxes on that's sitting in your bank account. You'd start something like a Roth IRA. And there's several vehicles to help lower your taxable rate, so it limits your exposure to taxation and
Right.
keeps you in better shape. So one thing I was advised my clients to do was have an emergency fund.
Wow.
6 months worth of expenses.
You say
6
at
months.
least minimum 6 months.
Minimum 6 months worth of mortgage payments, car payments, insurance, every expense you've got, have 6 months of that built up.
Right.
Set it aside, don't ever touch it. At that point, with your after-tax money, say you start a Roth IRA, well, every time you get paid, what should you do? You pay yourself first.
Right.
Take 20% of that net income,
Wow.
roll it into your Roth IRA, and then invest it from there.
Wow.
20% off the top.
Wow. You hear that, folks? 20% off the top, right?
After taxes.
Then you can put it in a Roth IRA.
Yep.
Now, let me ask you this. You put it in a Roth IRA in terms of, for our television audience, the Roth IRA, is it taxable or non-taxable when you withdraw it out of the Roth IRA?
It's tax deferred, if taxed at all, because it's funded with fully after-tax dollars.
Oh, wow.
So you're either not going to be paying taxes on it, or when you pay taxes on the income created within the Roth IRA, it's tax deferred until you take that money out.
I got you.
And that's usually going to be around retirement age. So,
but that's still a good deal, though, isn't it?
It's a whole heck of a lot better than the alternatives, yeah. A lot better.
In other words, you can build up money into it. So what about what about a SEP for an individual business owner?
Yeah, SEP, there's several different retirement plan options for an entrepreneur who starts his own business. You also have an individual 401k for self-employed persons, and a SEP is self-employed persons retirement. So there are quite a few options. And a lot of self-employed people do a Roth, but yeah, you can do an individual 401k if you wish.
Right.
So,
but now, back to the SEP though, is there a limit on the SEP, as far as you know?
There is, and off the top of my head, I cannot remember what the current ceiling on that is, but there is a limit.
I think the annual limit is $60,000, if I'm correct. Yeah. If I'm correct, it's $60,000 annually you can pay on the SEP, and I was talking to a guy the other day because he's considering it, and I said, think about it. You do 60 times 10, you're at $600,000.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't even think about doing it for 20 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's $1.2 million, and that is not even counting the interest.
No, not at all.
You know.
And interest, it's so funny. I often ask people who said this famous quote, and it was, compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. And 95% of all people, when I ask them who said that, get it wrong. Do you know who said it?
Who said it?
Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein. E equals mE squared 2.
Yeah, E equals MC squared.
Right.
Yeah. And one of the greatest minds in world history, and he figured that one out about compound interest.
Yeah. I'd say W equals ME3.
Yep.
Which is generational wealth.
Yep. 3
generations, 3 streams of income, 3 investments. I mean, reading 3 books, 3 streams of income, you name it.
Yep.
And so it just helps you. So the other thing before we go, tell our television a little bit about just annuities in general in terms of potentially as an option, annuities.
Yeah. You've got your fixed annuities. You also have variable annuities. You have your accumulation phase, which is where you're paying money into the annuity.
Right.
And say you want to retire at 65.
Right.
Okay. That's when you're going to start taking money out, the annuitization phase.
Exactly.
When you start earning an income off of that. Yeah, fixed annuities, they pay a fixed amount, a fixed rate of return. Variable annuities are a little bit different animal. You've got when you're accumulating money, you're paying into it. Well, the cash value will vary, hence variable. It'll go up and down and up and down over time. But the death benefit of a variable annuity never goes down.
That's important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, it's important. Plus, if you're looking at a variable annuity with a high watermark feature, then say over 20 years, you've got $500,000 in there, but the cash value keeps going up and up and up. Well, that high water mark, the death benefit hits right there. So let's say at 15 years, it's $1 million. Well, that death benefit stays at $1 million. It never comes down.
Wow.
So yeah, there's quite a few different options out there.
So if something happened to that person, the family still
gets that $1 million.
Right. And they're not at a loss, they're at a gain.
Oh, that's a net gain, yeah, big time.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
That's really, really great there. So before we go, if you wanted to tell our television audience something unique about investing or just creating wealth for themselves, what would you tell our TV audience today?
Gosh, the average person does not even think about investing for retirement until they hit age 50.
Wow.
Start investing for retirement the day you get your first job. Max out the amount of money you put into your 401k. Max it out. It's money you won't see, therefore you won't miss it. One day you're going to wake up and wonder where all that money came from. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. You hear that, folks? Don't wait till you turn 50 to start investing. Start, as Mr. Kelso said, start when you get your first check. Take it out, direct deposit.
Yep.
You won't see it, you won't miss it, but you still have it.
Yep. It'll still be there.
And it's accumulating. The interest is growing on it. As Mr. Kelso said, it's compounded interest. In other words, making money. Folks, I want to thank you, Mr. Kelso, for being on KAZQ, Wealth Think Tank Television. And thank you for your expertise here. I really appreciate it. And I think a lot of folks is going to thank you as well. Folks, listen, if you want to go ahead today and invest your money, let's pick up the phone, call us, 817-729-0543, and we will answer your call and get your money where it needs to go so that, as Mr. Kelso said, you can compound your interest. You're going to have an emergency fund. You can go on a vacation. You can create generational wealth. You can do and enjoy the American dream like everybody should. I want to thank you for being on our show. Thank you. I'm the host, Dr. Ralph Steele, on Wealth Think Tank Television.